Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Mayor Fatemi. We had a great slate of games last night. We saw the New York Knicks eliminate the Detroit Pistons. Jalen Brunson with a game winner in the closing seconds of the game. It was not a buzzer beater, but it was a game winner nonetheless. And the New York Knicks have officially punched their ticket to the second round of these NBA playoffs to face the Boston Celtics. We're going to talk a little bit about the Pistons Knicks series and preview a little bit of the Celtics series as well if we have some extra time. From there, we also saw the Los Angeles Clippers force a Game 7 back in Denver, a series that we have all had our eyes on, a series that we're all looking forward to. I've lamented it on this show many times. This is the best series of the first round. And each game 5 was the biggest game in the series of the NBA playoffs. Game 6, I said it once again. And Game 7, you know what I'm going to say again. 3 times in a row. 3 massive games. And this is for all the marbles. Win or go home. This is about Nikola Jokic. This is about Kawhi Leonard. This is about James Harden. And this is about Jamal Murray. Who is going to win that battle? We'll preview all of that and get into what happened in Game 6 and how the Clippers were able to pull that one out. We also saw some news that LeBron James will be returning for the 2026 NBA season. We'll preview a little bit of what to expect from that and what the Lakers should do to surround LeBron and Luka Doncic with some more talent and what to expect from them in this offseason. Outside of that, for the last 2 segments, we're gonna give some playoff previews for the second round. I'm gonna give my playoff predictions, my pre-playoff predictions in the second round, as well as preview Game 6 between the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets later tonight. The Houston Rockets looking to force a Game 7 back in Houston, so I'll give you guys all the stats and all the information on that one. But before I move any further, I'd like to remind you guys to please like and follow the show for more GSMC Sports Network content. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on air, I ask that you use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I see it, and it also really helps out the show. Again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net for all your questions and comments. But getting right back into it here, we had the New York Knicks, like I mentioned, go into Detroit last night and knock off the Detroit Pistons. And honestly, this series has been spectacular, and last night lived up to that title as well. But the headline of this one is going to be that the New York Knicks went into Detroit not once, not twice, all 3 times. Game 3, Game 4, and Game 6, all coming down to the wire, and the Knicks pulling out all 3 of those games. All 3 road games that, honestly, a team that is getting a lot of hate, a lot of, not hate, but a lot of criticism that they don't have grit. They don't have mental strength. They're not playing well on the road. This, that, and the other. A team that that lost the season series against the Detroit Pistons 3-1 in the regular season. This is the team that went into Detroit last night. This is the team that's gone into Detroit 3 times and pulled out all 3 of those games. Now, is it a little bit of an issue that Detroit went into New York twice and beat them? I mean, you can say so a little bit, but at the same time, this series, it really felt like both of these teams were so similar. The Detroit Pistons are a couple years in the past. If we think back to how the New York Knicks were back in 2021, back in 2022 as well, it was just, it's a very similar team, a gritty, not very heavy offensive team, led by Cade Cunningham in this sense back in the day, Jalen Brunson in New York, and just a team that's gritty, trying to find their identity on the offensive end of the ball with a young group, a young core, a young head coach, a great head coach. Tom Thibodeau, I believe, was a coach of the year in 2021. Just a great team in general. So, yeah, that's what it just feels like. Both of these teams, they very much emulate each other, and the Detroit Pistons are just 2 years in the past of what the New York Knicks were. But getting right back into it here, we had the Pistons. We're gonna go back to Game 6 here. We had final score of this one being 116-113. And honestly, what was a spectacular game. We saw Jalen Brunson go off for 40 points. He was the star of the show, finishing the game with a 40 bomb. I apologize for that. Overall, just a fantastic game from Jalen Brunson. We know Jalen Brunson is hobbled. We see him every game coming off the court. grimacing with a grimace on his face. We saw Game 4, he left the game for a little bit with an ankle injury. We saw at the end of Game 5, he tweaked that same ankle. He is hobbled. He is not the same player that, I mean, he's not 100%. I would, if this is not the same player from back in the day, or from earlier in the regular season, or a couple years ago, that's still able to drop 40 points a game, I don't know what Jalen Brunson we're thinking about here. This is the same Jalen Brunson, but he is hobbled. He's not playing himself. He's not playing to his 100%. He is not 100% healthy, and he's leaving it all out there for the New York Knicks right now. Another player that showed up and showed out was Mikal Bridges, a guy that has gotten a lot of heat recently. Um, obviously, it's kind of deserved, because at the end of the day, this is a player that the New York Knicks gave up 4 first-round picks for, pretty much bet the house on. We're saying this is the guy that we need. This is the guy that we pair up with Jalen Brunson to put us over the top with Karl-Anthony Towns, with OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mitchell Robinson. We have a great unit around these guys. We just need another scorer on this team to take us to the next level. And that is what they expect Jalen Brunson. That's what they expected Mikal Bridges to be. That's what we really did. But in this one, he did prove that. That's what I'm trying to get at. He finished with 25 points in this one, shooting 11 of 16 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3-point range. Played pretty well overall. Great game from him. You expect him to shoot a little bit better from 3-point range, but at the end of the day, 11 of 16 from the field is very good. You'll take that any day from your star player, and only 2 free throws for him. So a lot of his points were scored from the field. So great shooting performance from him. They absolutely needed it on a night that Karl-Anthony Towns only finished with 10 points. Did not have his best shooting day, but they didn't need him in this one. Plain and simple. Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Hart, and Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns finishing with double doubles in this one. 13 and 10 for Hart, 10 and 15 for Karl-Anthony Towns. 2 players that continue to prove as utility guys. Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously more of a center, more of a shooting, has the title of best shooting big man in the NBA. Josh Hart always being the utility guy, always being able to rebound, steal, assist, shot make from time to time. You don't need him to shot make, but he's able to do it. This is a player, he's very unique. You don't really see Josh Hart-esque players anymore. You see him, like, the only one I could really compare him to is, say, a Draymond Green maybe, but Josh Hart does not have the defense Draymond has. Draymond's even more unique in that sense, I'd say. So these players like that are very unique. They're utility guys. You rely on them down the stretch. You rely on them to help you get stops, to help you stop momentum on both sides, to get momentum offensively, to stop the other team's momentum defensively. He's a great player to have, and he's proved his worth down the stretch here, especially in the playoffs. So great performance from him last night. OG Anunoby as well, finishing with 22 points. Now, I kind of want to get to the other side of this. No, I'll do it. It is what it is. When you look at the other side, this is a great Pistons team. This was as unfortunate as this game was, as unfortunate as this series was. You lose all 3 games at home. You don't play well. You don't play well at home. You don't play well in game. You should have won Game 3 and Game 4, especially Game 4, when Jalen Brunson left the game for a considerable period of time, for about 6-7 minutes of game time. But it is what it is. You're here. It is what it is. You go from 14 wins last year to 44 wins this year, led by JB Bickerstaff. You lose Jaden Ivey in the regular season. He's a phenomenal player. Honestly, he's one of the best players on the Detroit Pistons, and when they get him back, this team is going to be on another level, I think. They still have Jalen Duren. Cade Cunningham took leaps this year, especially in the playoffs. This was valuable experience for the Detroit Pistons, and if these 2 teams squared off next year, I would not be shocked. I'm still going to I picked the Pistons to win this series this year, but it was honestly the experience of the Knicks that proved to be the difference in this one. If these 2 teams square off again next year, I'm picking the Pistons again. I seriously am. This Pistons team, I think they have the recipe to win. I think they lost a lot of close games that could have gone either way, and that was the reason why They lost the series, but they did go into Madison Square Garden in Game 5 and win that game. They did go into Madison Square Garden in Game 2 without only 2 games into this series after falling in Game 1, and they pulled out that game. They took control of it early, and that is what they need. I think they need another offensive piece. At the same time, though, you cannot look to trade a player. That is what I have to stress with this team. If you want to sign another free agent shooting player, another good reliable shooter, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. I don't even know who's on the market. If Klay Thompson's on the market, maybe you can get him. I would try and steer away from the big name players just so you don't get into the tax apron, the luxury tax apron, so you don't get high into those taxes, and the owners don't have to look at it and say, "Oh, we got to start looking at cost cutting here and there." That's another conversation for another day. We're starting to see that a little bit more, specifically with the Boston Celtics. Just try and get another guy on this team, maybe a seasoned veteran if you can. This Pistons team has the recipe to win. That is what I'm trying to stress and hit home. When you have a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's only averaged about 10-10 in this series, 9-12, that's a normal stat line we see. But in a elimination playoff game, we see him go off for 21, 6 and 3, 21.6 rebounds, 3 assists. That's growth. That is signs of growth. That is experience. That is valuable experience. You see Asher Thompson going off for 17 points. You see Cade Cunningham going off for 23 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Malik Beasley is still performing at a high level with 20 points. If you can keep your core group of guys, you add Jaden Ivey back in the mix, you add Isaiah Stewart back in the mix, you keep growing and growing and growing on what you have right now. Just keep building on it. You're going to have a great team next year and 2 years from now. And you're possibly going to be able to compete for a championship as early as 2 years from now. I don't know if they'll be able to compete for it next year, but I think this was something that was due for the Detroit Pistons. The second that I saw this team drafting Cade Cunningham, Jalen Brunson, I believe this was 2022 or 2023. I think it was 22. Or it was either 22 or 23. I can't remember exactly. But when you draft guys like that, when you have a high level draft class like with the 3 that I just mentioned, and they are excelling now in the clip that I kind of expected it. Especially when they're coming out of college, you knew how good this team was. You knew how good these guys were. They were NBA ready. And they continued to prove that time and time again. We saw Cade Cunningham at Oklahoma State playing at a high level. We saw Jalen Brunson at Memphis playing at a high level. These were guys that we knew were going to play in the NBA, and Detroit was on the rise. They were just waiting for that spark. That's why it was a little shocking to see what happened to them last year. For a part of me did feel like this team was slipping a little bit, but I'm happy to see that they cleaned it up, because this is not going to be a fluke year. Some people are saying this Pistons team is a fluke. No. I don't know how you can look at Cade Cunningham at 23. I think he's 23. He could be 22. He is 23. A player like Cade Cunningham, who's just growing into a star, growing into a true offensive piece. I think if you want to tier him up if you want to make a tier of teams that are rising, that are on the come up, I think he deserves that. He deserves to be in the conversation of him and Paolo Banchero in terms of who has the better ceiling, who has a better upside to them. So I think Cade Cunningham is going to be here for years to come. I think the Pistons are going to continue to grow as a team, and I think this is going to be valuable experience for them. But the New York Knicks, we have to stay in the present right now, because these NBA playoffs are not over. We can go into the Detroit Pistons in the offseason. For now, we have to continue to watch the New York Knicks, because they have set themselves up with a date with the Boston Celtics, a team that has had their number for the last 3 years or so, a team that continues to dominate them. And it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I've run out of time, so I won't be able to preview that series, but I promise I'll preview that early next week. But coming up next, I'm going to take a short break. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at the Clippers Denver Nuggets series. The Clippers forcing a Game 7 last night back in Denver, and we're gonna recap that and preview it because unfortunately I wish I could preview it, but that game will take place on Saturday night, and I will not be able to preview it on this stream. So I'm going to do it now. Yeah, you're watching the GSMC Basketball Podcast, and we're going to talk about the Clippers Denver Nuggets series. Don't go anywhere.